to ask, to ask you a question about what kind of model we can imagine between the collaboration between the public and the private sector in this field, because I believe that this based on an ecosystem. It's not only one part job. We cannot, government cannot guarantee this by himself, and same for the private sector. So my question is for Khalid, how you can see this kind of cooperation from public-private collaboration to guarantee the full ecosystem efficiency for this domain?
Thank you, Adnan. I believe that, in last year's report from IBM, when you compare the percentage of companies and public organizations that have been victim to cyber attacks, we're at 47%. When you come to the Middle East, the number is 59%. What does that mean? Is that the Middle East and the MENA region at all is under much heavier attack. And so this is alarming in the sense that we need to consider how we as public and private organizations within our national interests can collaborate together. Now, this is maybe a little bit controversial, but private sector looks at governments and says, government is only trying to uphold status quo. They're only trying to keep their positions. Now, the public sector looks at the private sector and says, they're only in it for the dollar. And no matter if the nation crashes, as long as they can make another dirham, whatever it takes, right? But that's just a short-sighted way of seeing things. Because at the end of the day, when we sit them together at the same table and say, for you, private sector, if your market is small, a big part of peanuts is still peanuts. But if we work together and make the pie a larger one, everyone can have their share. And the other way around, when we talk to public sector and say, when you want to implement these large measures, these major projects that can improve the state of the nation, but at the same time, that can improve your position within this government, well, how do you fund these projects? You can fund them through two ways, either public-private partnership or by enlarging your fiscal base. How do you enlarge your fiscal base? Is by augmenting GDP. And so when we can discuss together with the long-term vision that everyone wins when we collaborate together on making a resilient digital economy, when making this economy sure that it grows, not only that we are austerity and we are protecting ourselves, but that we ensure that we grow together, that means everybody wins.
Thank you very much, Khalid. Thank you for the answer. I believe that this ecosystem building, it's a long-term process, including several actors from public and private sector, including processes, legal things, solutions, products, including also operators and telecom providers. And I believe that to Khalid, to come back to the Moroccan case, I think Morocco is doing great for increasing the digital economy. We have seen a lot of things happen during the COVID pandemic, and I believe that also from cybersecurity and data protection, a lot of things have been done to guarantee this kind of transformation. So can you tell us more about the Moroccan case in order to have a global picture from Middle East to Northern Africa, and then we can close this session. Thank you.
Thank you, of course, Adnan. So in our case, and I, as a Royal Advisory Commission member, where we worked about the National Development Strategy, and part of it obviously was cybersecurity and data governance. We look at the digital economy from two sides. So we have the digital environment and how to make the digital environment secure and resilient. And there you have all your fail-safes, your scenario planning, your redundancies, your data sovereignty and national cloud, all the different initiatives from technology to infrastructure that would support creating a cyberspace and digital environment that's prosper and safe for public and private actors to work within. And then we have the activity side. Now, the economic activity side within the digital economy space is if we don't protect it from being too stifled by public regulation and policy, it creates a very dead zone for innovative development. And so while yes, we need to be sure to make sure that we protect our sensitive data and we protect our national interests, we need to also make sure that our startups, our innovators have spaces, safe spaces where they can innovate, where they can test and experiment. And there we are working also on sandbox regulation to create these types of spaces where our fintechs and our ag techs and our people that are working with our drones and people that are consuming open data from our government services can experiment without obviously exposing it to external dangers, but at the same time to enable our potential Kareems, our potential unicorns, to emerge through this innovation. So from our side, it's very important to conciliate these two. Creating a digital space that's safe and secure, and at the same time opening for potential, for growth, and for innovation to our activities. And I want to go back to the people, which is the major weak link for cybersecurity. Unfortunately, in the number that I said earlier, in the 59% of data breaches, about half of those are constituted of human error. What I find when we work with our clients, government or private sector, when we find through dot recognition which employee had originated the breach, they're afraid of coming to speak to us because they're afraid to be fired. And the organization itself is afraid to come forward when they detect a breach because they will be blamed for it. Now, the blame game is very bad for cybersecurity because once an organization detects a breach and sits silent, social engineering happens by proximity. So if an employee from your company is affected and they have a friend that they receive a WhatsApp message from and that they can get a social engineering hack from, then the other organization is attacked. And so if we're looking at it from a national strategy, we need to be as transparent as possible to stop the blame game and say, if there is a data breach, what we need to do is to do damage control. The shorter time span from data breach detection to stoppage is the least amount of money we lose either from the data breach itself or from its ramifications. So I believe that we need to see this as a whole, and we need to make sure that we conciliate each of the priorities from our government to our private sector so that we don't hinder development and at the same time protect our assets.
Thank you very much, Khaled. I think we are ready.